Welcome back, everyone. Let's get the conversation. Let's continue the conversation. That is, let's go back to Abuja studio where Senator Shehu Sani, chairman of the Local and Foreign Debt Committee, has been talking to us. So, sorry, I cut you short in your submission earlier about how the government plans to service and the concern over the price of oil.
As you are quite aware, the government has made it very clearly that loans or debt is going to be part of the buffer for the budget. And also, it's also clear to us that the prices of crude oil in the international market has risen, but from 30, 40 is now up to 60. And there is a fact that we have some form of level of stability and peace in the Niger Delta, and also we have some waivers from OPEC. So all this put into consideration give the basis for the approval of the MTEF plan. And I'm very much confident that this will aid the budget. But the problem we have is the issues that were raised in the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which clearly defines that we simply put the cart before the horse. They are supposed to have been the passage of MTEF before the presentation of the 2018 budget, but it was done the opposite way, and that is an issue which was raised. But despite all this, the MTEF has scaled through, and this, I believe, was concurred by the other house.
One major issue which was raised is how monies are spent, especially the differences. When the lawmakers were talking about the excess crude account, what can you tell us about the grievances or some of the concerns of the lawmakers on the differences between the shortfalls, or the excess of the earnings in the crude oil sales?
Well, if you can remember, some few weeks ago, the issue of the excess crude account was brought to the floor of the Senate. And one speaker after another, there were issues that were raised, that there is need to formalize and key in the excess crude account in such a way that it doesn't become a slush funds as it has always been over the years. So this was also brought to the fore, and all issues that were raised and the recommendations that were made, all is to make a difference, different from what we used to have in the past. And that is why the value of the naira is to the dollar is pegged at 305. And now we also have a 2.3 million barrels per day expectations, and also the fact that now we have set it a benchmark of $47 per barrel. So I believe that this, and also the National Assembly believe that this is a fair enough recommendations that will aid the economic plans for the preceding year.
Senator, quickly, before we get into those monies, the Swiss government says it will repatriate and get back to Nigeria. Do you think the regularization of the budget cycle can happen in the 2018 budget? With this timeline, the lawmakers are going, suspending plenary, and they will be focusing on the details of the budget. But is it realistic that we regularize the January to December window of the budget cycle?
Well, the issue was brought some few weeks ago, the technicality, the possibility of how feasible it is for us to pass the budget within the time which the executive wants us to pass. But we have gone off the plenary to go to the details of the budget and sit down with the relevant ministries and agencies so that at least the mistakes and the failures and the challenges of the 2016 and 2017 will not be experienced in 2018. We know very well that there are a lot of expectations for next year. So we simply want to do our job and then pass the budget and then expect all that was promised to Nigerians be delivered within the reasonable time period.
Okay, then, let's quickly go into this very important one. The Swiss government is set to return about $321 million US public funds looted by former Nigerian military dictator Sani Abacha to the federal government. The money, originally deposited in Luxembourg, was confiscated by a Swiss court in late 2014, and in March last year, the two countries signed an agreement on its repatriation. The Swiss government, in a statement, says, and I quote, "In accordance with the policy on repayment of national assets taken illegally, Switzerland has agreed with Nigeria and the World Bank to return nearly $321 million US for the benefit of the Nigerian people." End of quote. With this now, the total repatriation of Abacha loot to Nigeria by the Swiss authority now stands at well over $1 billion US in 12 years. And still talking about loot and recoveries, a federal high court sitting in Lagos ordered a temporary forfeiture of 2 penthouses valued at $4.760 million and linked to the former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Dezani Alusin Madueke. Let's make a sense of it and what this means for Nigeria. Mr. Yusuf, what does this kind of money mean to Nigeria? Are you impressed by these recoveries and the usage, especially when we are talking about debt servicing in the budget?
Well, I think one should commend the efforts of government at ensuring the recovery of looted funds. But more importantly, I think we need to put in place systems and institutions and processes that will not allow this kind of thing to happen in the first place. Because developments like this and stories like this have serious reputational and perception implications for the country. I mean, we have gotten to a level where recoveries and looted funds will now become a line item in our revenue for budgeting. There's a kind of reputation it projects about the country. So it is important while we address the issue of corruption, while we try to arrest and punish or sanction those who are involved, we should ensure that we strengthen our institutions, our processes, procurement, ensure transparency in the way we do things, and ensure that we have a system where there are consequences for actions. That is what is sustainable, and that is what can turn around the kind of situation that you have, because really it poses a major perception and reputational problem for us as a country.
Mr. Muda Yusuf, Director General of the Lagos Chamber and Commerce, LCCI, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Senator Shehu Sani, Chairman, the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt. Thank you so much, as always, for your time and your interventions. And that's our show, everyone. Many thanks for being part of it. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.